We make it look easy, we make them look sexy, and we make you want to get one. Especially if an artist has a decent following, it may be tempting to say, wow, what an easy job. Doing what you love all day must be great. And that is true, it is a great gig, but every job has its dark side. So what would that be when it comes to customizing shoes? When I'm done with this list, you're going to feel conflicted. On one hand, you're going to be like, wow, this is such an awesome gig. And on the other hand, you're going to be like, keep watching till the end, because I think you'll agree that the last one is the worst. Alright, number 1, those gosh darn mock-ups. So the first thing is, you can't just make a sale. It's a completely bespoke product. So your customer can't say, blah, 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 this is what I want. And you can't say, yeah, pay me, let's get started. Wow, have I been doing this wrong all this time? That sounds so easy. But no, there's a long and convoluted process between the point where the customer gets in touch with you and you actually start the pair of shoes. It's in this process that your customer will tell you what they want, and you will try to use your creative energy to provide them with that. And this can be especially difficult when the customer doesn't really know what they want. Now, I don't know if everybody does this, but I offer mock-ups for free, so that my customers can get an idea of what they're paying for and I can justify the price of their initial investment. Often, I'll spend a good couple of hours going backwards and forwards with the customer, assembling resources, coming up with an idea, putting it onto Photoshop, polishing it into a design, making tweaks for a customer. A lot of the time, I just get completely ghosted. Sometimes people say, okay, great, I'm going to let you know, and never do. And then of course, there are customers who are serious about getting shoes, in which case they ask for tweaks. I give them to them until we work out something which works perfectly for the design they had in mind. But to be honest, it can waste a lot of time and can be a little disheartening. I'd love to be able to charge for my mock-ups to get some kind of investment on behalf of my customers so that I know that they're serious, even if it's just a small deposit. But in my experience, that turns away a good 60% of customers who are just sort of investigating this exciting idea of customizing sneakers. Now the upside of this con is that I now have a repository of mock-ups that are ready to go as soon as a customer messages me and asks for a pair from this particular theme. Whether it's Harry Potter or Wednesday Addams or Naruto or One Piece or One Piece or One Piece or One Piece, I'd be ready to send it to them in a second. But the biggest upside of this whole situation is that my Photoshop skills have gone through the roof in the past 2 years that I've been doing this. And that has come in handy throughout many of my other endeavors outside of the sneaker world. Number 2, your back and your neck suffer. Look, this one is hard to get around. If you're going to be spending tens of hours hunched over your work, doing micro details and really paying attention to the quality of what you do, well, your back and neck are going to suffer. Usually it's not so much of a big problem, but in the long term, it really makes a substantial difference. I have found a somewhat helpful solution to this in the form of a good posture, but the only downside with this is it's really hard to film your work when you're in this position, and that's obviously really important to me with YouTube. So it's kind of a balance between my neck and back health and recording videos. Number 3, you kind of need to be a jack of all trades. What I mean by that is that if you are running a small custom sneaker service or business, you probably need to be the communication with clients guy, the social media guy, the digital design guy, the actual art guy, the airbrushing guy, the finishing guy, the sanding guy, as well as the photography guy, and just all the guys. You've also got to learn how to take care of your money, which is quite an important part of running any business. And if you're capturing your art process for social media like YouTube or Instagram, then you also need to have a hand in editing. To be completely frank, filming and doing art together is usually quite a huge burden, and one of the two suffers, either the quality of your art or the quality of your footage. Neither of those are ideal. That's just the world that we live in. In order to be successful as a custom sneaker artist, you kind of need to be present on social media and make it look sexy. It is quite tough. Sometimes I find myself actually delaying projects in the form of procrastination because the setup of all the gear and all that in order to make sure that I can properly film my process kind of takes away from just the general art process itself. And because of that, it puts unnecessary stress and strain on the whole process. And, well, takes away from the love of it. Number 4, a lot of people won't understand exactly what you do. Even your customers who are coming to you won't understand exactly what you do. They'll ask you for a price without giving you any information about what they want. They'll give you vague requests. They'll ask it to be done in 2 days' time on Tuesday for their sister's birthday. And worst of all, the absolute worst of all, is that they won't understand all the time and effort and skills and sometimes years of experience that go into doing what you do and appreciating it as such. Now, there are many people who will understand what you do and can see the value of your skill and what you bring to the table. But guaranteed, there will be lots of people who come to you with no understanding of the time and skill that it requires and say, $30 for the Mona Lisa? A guy I know down the road will do it for $25. If somebody is thinking and speaking like this, let them go. Let them fly away like a dove because they ain't worth your time. Customizing sneakers is an art business, not a service, it's art. Art takes time and skill cost money. Even after doing this for a couple of years, I still get triggered when this happens. So, sometimes I feel tempted to say, no, my work is not too expensive, you're just too cheap. But don't say that. It's still rule number 1 in business that you don't insult your customers. But at the same time, it's really hard to know your worth when people are constantly trying to chase you to the bottom of the lowest possible price and don't have a good understanding of exactly what it is that you do. Number 5, the learning curve is really steep. You can quite easily make some expensive mistakes, and even worse, when things go wrong, you can lose a lot of motivation and start to doubt whether or not this is actually for you. But while this really steep learning curve is a big problem for some people, it's not a big problem for you. And I'll tell you why. That's because I've spent the past year making YouTube videos on exactly how to customize sneakers so that you can overcome all of these problems before they get started. So I've made all of these videos to flatten the learning curve so that you don't have to make all the mistakes that I did and probably be able to learn how to do the things that I can in half the time. So there you have it, self-plug, no shame. Number 6, the cost of the sneaker plays a pretty big role in the psychology of the customer. I guess a lot of people say, whoa, I saw this really cool Dragon Ball Z custom sneaker that I'd really like to get done for my son's birthday. And I'll be like, yeah, cool, that'll be $200 on top of a $200 shoe. And they're like, what? That's like the same price as the shoe. And yeah, I hate to break it to everyone out there, Air Force Ones, they're expensive. And, well, our art, which takes tens of hours to complete, isn't going to be cheap either. And another key factor is that us artists don't make any money on that $200 Air Force One. In fact, by taking your money, we're liable to even greater taxes because we're having that extra cash flow, which we'd like to avoid if at all possible. So keep in mind that we just make money on the art that is over and above the cost of the shoe itself. Unfortunately, a lot of people get stuck up on that and start to evaluate the art part as the expensive part of the shoe because it's added on top of the non-negotiable price of, say, an Air Force One or a Jordan. But that is just an occupational hazard. You can't get away from that. The Air Force One is by far the most popular customizable shoe on the planet, and you'd be hard pressed to start a business where you don't deal with that. Now, the last one, number 7, isn't just a downside, it's almost a deal breaker, and also something that not a lot of people know about. So do yourself a favor and make yourself one of those lucky few by checking out this next video.